At exactly 8:17 a.m., the world doesn't end. There is no explosion, no warning, no sound. A bird is frozen mid-wing beat above a city street. A man's coffee hangs in the air, steam unmoving. On a highway, 1,000 cars have become statues, their drivers trapped in gestures they will never finish. And you are still moving. Your breath fogs the air. Your heartbeat echoes too loudly. You wave a hand in front of someone's face, and nothing happens. History has stopped. Not for everyone, just for you. And the most terrifying question isn't how this happened, it's how long before you realize what this really means. Before we step forward into a world where every empire, every war, every secret is suddenly defenseless, take a moment to ground yourself in the present. If stories that bend history and stretch the limits of human imagination are what you're here for, tap the like button. It tells the algorithm this kind of curiosity still matters. Subscribe if you want more cinematic deep dives into the past, the impossible, and the questions history never prepared us to ask. And while you're watching, leave a comment. Tell us where you're watching from, or what you do when time isn't frozen. Because in this story, professions, places, and moments take on very different meanings. Now, let's move. The story opens in the immediate aftermath of the freeze. The sensory shock of absolute stillness becomes the emotional engine of the chapter. Cities without sound, oceans without motion, fire without flicker. We explore how deeply time is woven into human perception and how quickly the mind begins to fracture without it. History enters quietly here, not through dates or events, but through comparison. Has humanity ever imagined a silence like this? Ancient myths, frozen moments in art, and the first realization that the world's momentum was always an illusion you never noticed until it was gone. The chapter ends not with fear, but with temptation. With movement comes exploration. You walk through places that once defined human power: palaces, parliaments, laboratories, temples. History becomes physically accessible in a way no historian ever dreamed. The chapter weaves together real historical sites and artifacts, asking what power truly means when no one can guard it. The viewer is slowly confronted with an unsettling idea. Without witnesses, history loses its authority. The past is no longer recorded, it's vulnerable. And somewhere between the Vatican archives and a forgotten nuclear command center, a question begins to form. Should history be touched at all? This chapter zooms outward, treating civilizations like paused organisms, armies frozen mid-march, revolutions halted before success or failure. We move through Rome, the Mongol expansion, colonial ports, world wars, moments where time itself once decided outcomes. The narrative explores how much of history depended not on morality or intelligence, but on timing measured in seconds. With time removed, the viewer confronts an impossible power imbalance: one mind versus every empire that ever existed. The chapter closes on a chilling thought. If empires fall because of time, what happens when time has no say? Here, the tone becomes intimate. Libraries, archives, and personal letters take center stage. The viewer is guided through the emotional archaeology of humanity: love notes never delivered, final thoughts never read, discoveries never shared. History becomes personal, fragile, and heartbreakingly incomplete. This chapter interrogates the ethics of knowledge without consequence. Is learning still noble if no one else can benefit? And beneath that question lies a deeper unease. If you remember everything, Does history still exist when no one else can? This is the psychological core of the film. Drawing from real historical cases of isolation, explorers, prisoners, monks, astronauts, the chapter explores what prolonged solitude does to the human mind. But this isolation is unprecedented. No death, no change, no feedback. Time's pause becomes a mirror, forcing the viewer to confront identity stripped of society. Without generations passing, without witnesses, without legacy, who are you? The chapter ends on a quiet, dangerous realization. Loneliness doesn't arrive screaming, it arrives whispering.